Do you have an appointment?
The name's Bond.
James Bond. He's with me.
Stepping into the tailored suit of an origin story isn't always easy, but IO Interactive basically looked at James Bond and decided we needed to see him before he was a calm, smooth talking legend. 007 First Light drops you directly into the polished, chaotic shoes of a 26-year-old recruit who is still very much figuring out how not to blow up his own gadget inventory on day one. Because this comes from the masterminds behind the Hitman Sandbox. You aren't just stuck following a rigid cinematic script, you get to tackle espionage operations with actual tactical choice. Choosing whether to ghost through high security facilities like a refined Phantom or crash through the front gate in an Aston Martin when stealth inevitably falls apart. Watching a young, slightly arrogant Bond stumble through early MI6 training while trying to impress his mentors gives the whole adventure a refreshingly grounded personality. You're watching a legendary spy earn that 00 clearance one messy, high-stakes disaster at a time. The combat flows between sharp hand-to-hand brawling, improvised gunfights, and clever gadget trickery that makes you feel like an actual secret agent rather than a generic action hero. Standard cover shooter tropes take a backseat to dynamic spycraft where blending into a crowd or talking your way past security is just as viable as pulling a silenced pistol. Watching IO Interactive apply their signature design philosophy to a young James Bond is easily one of the most exciting developments in modern action gaming. Captain Price, going completely off the grid to hunt Makarov, takes the narrative into territory that feels dramatically more intense this time around. Infinity Ward is thrusting players directly into a major global conflict sparked by a full-scale invasion across the Korean peninsula, stretching the battlefields everywhere from trench warfare in South Korea to urban firefights in Paris and New York City. Experiencing the campaign alongside a squad of conscripted local Marines brings an authentic human perspective to the chaos, highlighting the sheer shock of civilian life turning into a combat zone overnight. Gameplay mechanics are receiving a massive cleanup as well, starting with the complete removal of hipfire bloom, so your bullets actually travel directly where your barrel is pointing. The gunsmith system gets an overhaul with new Apex attachments that fundamentally alter how weapons behave, while a new feature named Gunny helps you build optimized weapon loadouts without needing an engineering degree. Gunfight maps, large-scale vehicle warfare, and the beloved extraction-focused DMZ mode all make their return, giving players a massive variety of ways to engage with the sandbox. Multi-tiered progression brings back the traditional choice between classic prestige resets for exclusive rewards or regular level grinding that keeps your custom loadouts intact. Seeing Infinity Ward refine recoil patterns and grounded military storytelling proves that this long-running action franchise still knows how to deliver a heavy, satisfying punch. Navigating high-stakes stealth raids and massive firefights offers a relentlessly fun ride for anyone who loves punchy shooter mechanics. For you, stepping up with a full-blown survival, third-person shooter was not on my immediate gaming bingo card, but ANOMALITH is shaping up to be one of the weirdest and most atmospheric sleeper hits on the horizon. Drop your protagonist right into the eerie, sprawling expanse of Showa-era Japanese nostalgia mixed with unsettling liminal space horror, and you end up with a game that feels like stepping into a fever dream where retro city alleyways and infinite hallways keep shifting around you. You're playing as a young girl desperately searching for her missing friend in a world writhing with bizarre supernatural anomalies, which means you cannot just wander around casually admiring retro storefronts without keeping a loaded weapon ready. The core gameplay blends genuine survival horror tension with punchy third-person gunplay, forcing you to carefully manage precious ammunition, scavenge for vital supplies, and constantly deal with horrific entities that make you question whether you took a wrong turn or phase straight into a totally different dimension. Between puzzle solving, navigating creepy backrooms-esque environments, and upgrading your weapons back at the workshop, the whole experience balances legitimate spine-chilling dread with satisfying action mechanics. Throwing classic survival horror resource management together with anomaly hunting logic creates a wonderfully unsettling rhythm, making every single dark corridor feel like a high-stakes gamble where you might find crucial story clues, stumble upon hidden secrets, or accidentally invite an utter nightmare straight to your face.
Become a legendary Turok warrior.
Shooting giant sci-fi dinosaurs with ridiculous futuristic weaponry is a timeless video game joy, and Turok Origins comes roaring out of history to prove that premise still hits like a freight train. Saber Interactive basically picked up the classic dinosaur hunter mantle, shoved it into Unreal Engine 5, and dialed the chaotic action directly up to 11. You step into the heavy combat boots of a cybernetic warrior battling across alien planets, overrun by terrifying prehistoric predators and hostile reptilian forces. Instead of sticking strictly to standard old-school first-person shooting, the game cleverly lets you switch between first and third-person viewpoints on the fly, showing off custom armor sets and wild elemental powers in mid-combat. Choosing between distinct character classes like the tanky bison shield generator or the fireball flinging raven adds actual strategic depth, especially when you're coordinating with 2 buddies in 3-player co-op. Boss fights feel like proper brutal encounters where extracting beast DNA unlocks echo sync abilities, letting you steal abilities directly from the giant creatures you just turned into target practice. Exploring lush, ancient jungle environments while listening to heavy weapon fire echoing off canyon walls delivers that perfect blend of nostalgic arcade grit and modern visual muscle. Anyone who misses the golden era of big, loud, unapologetic sci-fi action shooters is going to find themselves grinning like an absolute madman while unloading heavy plasma rounds into an angry Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Hundreds of real enemies on screen at the same time.
Walking around as an 8-foot-tall genetic super soldier encased in walking tank armor is pretty much the ultimate power fantasy, and Space Marine 2 fulfills that promise with glorious unhinged enthusiasm. You step right back into the heavy magnetic boots of Lieutenant Dimitri and Titus, carving a bloody path through literal oceans of insectoid tyrannids attempting to devour entire Imperial planets. The sheer sense of scale here is truly astounding, with thousands of alien bugs swarming over distant structures like living liquid before slamming headfirst into your spinning chainsword. Combat feels ridiculously weightful, giving every swing of a power sword or explosive blast from a heavy bolter a devastating sense of impact that makes standard action games look tame by comparison. Pairing a massive alien warrior mid-leap and executing it with your bare hands never gets old, serving as a constant reminder that you are the deadliest threat on the entire battlefield. Playing alongside 2 friends in seamless co-op multiplayer turns whole alien-infested battlefields into gloriously chaotic meat grinders where true teamwork boils down to screaming for glory and holding the line together. Between the towering gothic architecture, relentless horde tech, and satisfyingly visceral combat mechanics, the developers captured the grimdark Warhammer universe better than almost anyone else in recent memory. Stepping into this galactic meat grinder guarantees a cathartic experience where subtlety gets tossed right out the window in favor of pure, unapologetic action. Capcom officially shortening the title to Resident Evil Veronica marks the beginning of a truly massive survival horror revival that fans have requested for years. Built from the ground up in the RE engine, this full remake ditching the old fixed camera angles in favor of an over-the-shoulder third-person camera takes direct design cues from the phenomenal Resident Evil 2 remake, following Claire Redfield as her search for her brother in Paris leads to her imprisonment on the terrifying Rockford Island gives the entire nightmare a fresh sense of overwhelming isolation. The development team, led by core veterans behind the recent series remakes, is carefully updating narrative pacing to seamlessly fit within modern series canon while preserving the core DNA of the original survival horror adventure. Every dark hallway, rotting facility, and shambling bioweapon benefits from hyper-detailed visual fidelity and dynamic lighting that makes resource management feel delightfully stressful. Reimagining classic story beats while modernizing weapon handling and environmental navigation ensures that legacy fans and newcomers alike experience peak atmospheric tension, striking a careful balance between faithful classic survival mechanics and responsive modern movement keeps you constantly on edge as you conserve ammunition against terrifying horrors. Watching Capcom give this fan-favorite chapter the premium AAA, treatment guarantees an unforgettable journey through isolation, family drama, and Umbrella Corporation madness. Stepping into Claire's boots again proves that classic survival horror design hits hardest when backed by cutting-edge visual craft.
An attempt to part the veil between planes. We break the
Tearing
power.
through the demon-choked, ruined streets of apocalyptic Paris while wielding celestial powers and a giant scythe is pretty much the definition of a metal album cover come to life. Armatus casts you as the last supernatural warrior of an ancient holy order tasked with slicing through grotesque nightmare beasts to locate the mythical Sunless Gate. Combining high-velocity third-person gunplay with visceral melee combos makes every combat encounter feel like a fluid ballet of holy destruction. You can spray rapid automatic gunfire into a crowd of horned monstrosities, dash forward to execute a heavy scythe cleave, and then summon slow-motion time fields to dodge incoming demonic projectiles. The roguelite structure ensures that death serves as a stepping stone, granting you divine knowledge, passive perks, and upgraded celestial abilities for your next dive into the scoured ruins. Starting every run feeling formidable before evolving into a screen-clearing monster creates an incredibly satisfying power curve. The Gothic architecture of ruined French landmarks crumbling under cosmic corruption provides an eerie, gorgeous backdrop for your relentless crusade. Swapping between shotguns, assault rifles, and holy fire powers allows for endless tactical experimentation, letting you tailor your arsenal to match whatever grotesque boss stands in your path. Anyone who loves fast-paced action games that reward aggressive playstyles, slick dodges, and constant tactical adaptation will find themselves thoroughly hooked on this spectacularly flashy celestial slaughterhouse from the very first run. Everyone's favorite blue bomber is back to blast through rogue robot armies, and watching Capcom revive this iconic platforming legend in the RE engine feels like pure gaming dopamine. Mega Man Dual Override brings back that classic side-scrolling precision action we all fell in love with while introducing an energetic new springboard mechanic that lets you vault across dangerous hazards at blinding speeds. Choosing which robot master stage to tackle first remains as deliciously strategic as ever, forcing players to figure out which special boss weapon will trivialize the next stage's terrifying boss. Watching Mega Man slide under spinning saw blades, absorb enemy abilities, and unleash powered-up buster shots gives the entire experience a crisp visual polish that modernizes classic arcade reflexes without losing its nostalgic heart. The newly introduced dual override mechanic allows you to overload weapon systems mid-fight, turning standard Mega Buster bursts into screen-clearing energy storms when boss fights get uncomfortably chaotic. Mastering tight jump timing while dodging glowing laser beams provides that glorious old-school satisfaction where every completed stage feels like a legitimate personal triumph. Nostalgic whistle cues and vibrant futuristic backdrops keep the momentum roaring from the very first level right up to Dr. Wily's inevitable fortress showdown. Capcom treating their foundational platforming mascot with top-tier visual production proves that classic Mega Buster action still delivers the absolute cleanest side-scrolling fun in the entire gaming industry today, keeping retro platforming spirits burning exceptionally bright.
Deus Ex
Stepping back into the trench coat of J.C. Denton feels like an immediate masterclass in immersive sim game design, and Deus Ex Remastered brings this legendary cyberpunk RPG into the modern era with glorious visual upgrades. Few video games in history have ever offered this level of genuine player agency, letting you approach dystopian conspiracy missions through stealthy air ducts, complex computer hacking, or outright heavy gun combat. Walking through the rain-slicked streets of a crumbling 2052 New York City with modernized lighting, updated character textures, and slick quality of life tweaks makes every shadowy alleyway feel deeply immersive. Nanotechnological augmentations give you the freedom to build your character into an invisible silent ghost, a lethal combat cyborg, or a silver-tongued master negotiator who bypasses whole security forces using simple dialogue choices. Balancing limited inventory space while deciding whether to spend skill points on electronic multi-tools or heavy rifle proficiency creates a wonderfully engaging tactical gameplay that modern hand-holding shooters rarely dare to recreate. The shadowy narrative surrounding global secret societies and artificial plagues feels strangely prophetic, pulling you deeper into a labyrinth where every moral choice carries actual consequences for the future of humanity. Choosing between disabling security turrets or reprogramming them to turn against corrupt guards never stops feeling immensely satisfying. Updating this timeless classic proves that deep player freedom, player choice, and rich cyberpunk atmospheric world building remain the undisputed pinnacle of role-playing design.
He's taken command of this immense army and is now preparing to unleash an insurrection.
Bringing together the elusive holy grail of sneaking missions in one neat package feels like an absolute victory for stealth purists everywhere. Konami finally opening up the vault to bundle Metal Gear Solid 4 Peace Walker and classic handheld gems under one roof means players no longer need to dig an ancient console out of storage just to watch old Snake groan through tactical crawling animations. Slipping back into the Octo-Camo suit reminds everyone how ridiculously ambitious this franchise has always been, blending cinematic absurdity with deeply intricate stealth mechanics, hiding inside a cardboard box or a discarded drum, while high-tech PMC soldiers patrol 5 feet away never loses its strange charm, especially when a simple mistake turns a peaceful recon mission into a glorious firefight. Tactical espionage action thrives on giving you absurd amounts of freedom. Whether you're managing mother base logistics on the go, or carefully lining up tranquilizer shots from a ruined building. Watching dramatic codec conversations unfold between intense firefights reminds us why Hideo Kojima's legendary storytelling continues to hold a bizarrely captivating grip on the industry. Navigating complex global conspiracies while dodging robotic gecko walkers requires serious patience, quick reflexes, and a willingness to embrace total narrative madness. Giving these classic stealth adventures a modernized release ensures that a whole new generation can experience the unmatched thrill of tactical, sneaking, dramatic boss encounters, and legendary military melodrama without jumping through convoluted emulation oops. Grabbing a pulse rifle, strapping on heavy body armor, and dropping into a bug-infested hive with 2 trusty squad mates remains one of the absolute best co-op experiences available, and Alien's Fireteam Elite 2 doubles down on that intense tactical claustrophobia. Cold Iron Studios builds directly upon the foundation of their previous squad shooter, throwing players into terrifying encounters against swarms of wall-crawling xenomorphs, deadly mutated pathogens, and ruthless corporate synthetics. The sheer variety of alien threats forces squad members to actually talk to each other, combining turret placements, shock grids, and heavy flamethrowers to create impenetrable choke points before the acid-blooded horde overwhelms your defensive position. Distinct marine classes bring specialized roles to the battlefield, making every team composition feel unique, whether you're laying down heavy suppressing fire or dropping critical medical supplies during a desperate last stand. Weapon customization gets a massive upgrade as well, allowing players to fine-tune recoil patterns, fire rates, and attachment perks to turn standard military gear into absolute alien shredding powerhouses. Atmospheric sound design plays a huge role in building tension as the iconic rhythmic tracking ping of your motion tracker slowly accelerates right before hundreds of sharp claws come bursting out of nearby ventilation shafts. Surviving these overwhelming extraterrestrial gauntlets with your crew offers a gloriously satisfying blend of classic sci-fi nostalgia, relentless arcade gunplay, and intense team coordination that keeps adrenaline levels pumping at maximum capacity.
Let me show you how it's done.
Zapping hippies with high-voltage death beams while hovering over a groovily rendered 1960s London never really loses its charm, does it? Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed takes the classic open-world alien sandbox formula and slaps on a gorgeous layer of visual polish that makes obliteration look downright glorious. Playing as Crypto-139, your primary goal boils down to extracting human brain stems, hypnotizing local authorities, and turning entire city blocks into burning piles of rubble using your flying saucer. The slapstick humor hits with that delightfully absurd B-movie energy, poking fun at Cold War paranoia and spy tropes while giving you absurdly destructive toys to play with, swapping between the Zap-O-Matic, the Dislocator, and the infamous Anal Probe ensures that combat stays ridiculous, especially when telekinetically tossing police cars into crowds of panicked civilians. The expanded locations, ranging from sunny Bay City to snowy Russian military compounds, give you plenty of scenic playgrounds for extraterrestrial tourism. Upgrading your weapons and flying saucer death lasers turns you into a walking planetary crisis, rewarding creative destruction with hilarious ragdoll physics and endless explosions. Modern quality of life improvements refine the movement, making jetpack hovering and saucer piloting feel far smoother than the original retro release. Navigating world conquest with an ego the size of Jupiter makes every dialogue exchange an absolute treat. Fans looking for unpretentious, pure arcade mayhem, where you get to unleash total alien tyranny on unsuspecting Earthlings, will find themselves grinning from ear to ear throughout this entire interstellar rampage. There's something endlessly satisfying about an action roguelike that takes the stress of a ticking timer and turns it into pure, unfiltered combat adrenaline, which is precisely what Hellclock brings to the table. Stepping into this isometric hack-and-slash nightmare, you're pitted against overwhelming demonic hordes where time itself serves as your most precious resource and your ultimate enemy. Instead of letting you play it safe, retreat into a corner and carefully pick off enemies, the central mechanic constantly pushes you forward by tying your survival directly to the clock on screen. Every second wasted is a second closer to your demise, forcing you to slice through legions of underworld monsters at a blistering pace just to keep that precious countdown from hitting 0. The combat feels fast, aggressive, and rewarding, encouraging you to stitch together chaotic weapon combos, dodge incoming attacks on a dime, and pick up dynamic upgrades that turn your character into a walking blender of destruction. What makes the gameplay so ridiculously addicting is how it balances high-stakes tension with power fantasy fun, meaning one minor blunder can instantly end a run, while a perfectly executed battle room recharges your timer and lets you unleash complete apocalyptic mayhem. Adding in distinct build options, diverse boss encounters, and visual flair that highlights every bloody strike Hellclock crafts, a thrilling arcade rhythm that rewards fast instincts, aggressive positioning, and a complete refusal to slow down.
Wstrętna, wijąca się I oślizgła maś.
Creeping through a decaying, fog-drenched Polish town in the mid-90s sounds like a recipe for nightmare fuel, and Holstin delivers that eerie atmosphere in spades. The psychological survival horror title immediately catches your eye with a wildly inventive visual trick that seamlessly transitions from an isometric pixel art view into a gritty over-the-shoulder perspective whenever you aim your weapon. Exploring slimy, rotting apartment blocks while interrogating increasingly unhinged townspeople creates a constant sense of dread that feels delightfully reminiscent of classic 90s horror icons. The mysterious organic growth consuming the entire settlement turns every dark hallway into a potential death trap where conservation of handgun bullets and flashlight batteries becomes a matter of life or death. Combat requires careful precision, as lining up shots in the dark while grotesque mutated abominations crawl out of the floorboards forces you to stay calm under intense pressure. Beyond the clever camera mechanics and tense firefights, the narrative leans heavily into subtle environmental storytelling, rewarding observant players who investigate every discarded note and blood-stained room for clues. Smashing through barricaded doors, navigating flooded basements, and piecing together what corrupted this isolated community makes for an extraordinarily hypnotic survival horror. Indie developers blending pixel aesthetics with dynamic modern camera angles prove that psychological terror doesn't need blockbuster budgets to leave players shivering in the dark. Surviving this bizarre Polish nightmare offers a refreshingly distinct take on survival horror that genre fans will absolutely adore. Blending creature collecting with high-speed third-person shooting sounds like a wild genre mashup, but Voidling Bound executes that concept with surprising mechanical depth. You play as a futuristic space wrangler who must form a direct neural bond with alien creatures known as Voidlings to cleanse alien worlds from an overwhelming parasitic infestation. Instead of sitting back and commanding monsters from a safe distance, you take direct control of your Voidling, dashing, slicing, shooting, and unleashing elemental devastation across corrupted biomes. Customization runs incredibly deep, offering branching evolution paths that let you customize stats, elemental alignments, and game-changing mutant perks to fit your exact playstyle. Rescuing and hatching alien eggs back at your vivarium allows you to breed unique specimens, combining rare traits and genetic perks to build the ultimate combat companion. Combat encounters demand active reflexes as you dodge erratic parasite attacks, parry elite boss strikes, and chain together ultimate abilities to wipe out buzzing swarms. Exploring colorful handcrafted planets while hunting down rare creature eggs creates a satisfying gameplay that constantly rewards curious players with new genetic possibilities and endless tactical options. Balancing attribute points between raw physical strength, vitality, and elemental essence keeps character progression engaging throughout your entire planetary campaign. Sci-fi fans who love monster taming mechanics mixed with responsive action shooting are going to have an absolute blast building their personal army of battle, ready alien beasts, and saving the galaxy.
Okay everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please leave a like and subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to get notified when we release new content. We hope to see you in the next video.